Randall Report, Season 1, Episode 3.
I'll never get used to that thing. Welcome to Episode 3 of the Randall Report, of course, where we're going to sort of now, January is gone, or Veganuary, as it was dubbed. Although I never am sure about these sort of obligatory months where you do something or change something, like Stoptober, which I think is to stop smoking, isn't it?
Isn't that November?
No, there's one way you
go
don't
to the
drink.
moustache.
There's a Movember. Yeah. Crikey. Where will it end? Anyway, now last month was dubbed Veganuary, with lots of advertising, of course, time given over to the promotion of eating plant-based food. And of course, there's nothing that gets people going more than this subject, I think.
Fruit and vegetables.
Fruit and vegetables. This is it. You know, the world's turning to shit. But we're banging on about fruit and veg. Now, I think there are now, from the statistics, some 2 million Britons that are now consuming at least some of the time plant-based foods. It actually says pant-based foods on my notes. Well, there you go. There's a typo to remember. In profession, obviously, trying plant-based foods in preference to traditional diets that we're all familiar with. Now, I did see an article, funnily enough, talking about this. You start to when you cogitating of what subject you're going to be talking about, you can't start seeing things. And I noticed an article in the press last week called Mind the Bap, which caught my attention. It discussed the fact that rail companies are going to entice their customers back on the trains by offering free bacon rolls. And the reason this kind of caught my eye was because I'd only read a scientific report a couple of days before that concluded that just 25 grams of processed meat a day, that's one rasher of bacon per day, increases your risk of developing dementia later in life by 44%.
Talking about dementia, didn't we already discuss this topic in the very first episode?
Well, we didn't actually, because we might have been on more personal terms.
I think we've already done this one.
It might be because I forgot something in the script and I just happened to mention it. Maybe I was losing it. No,
Too much bacon.
No, too much. No, we didn't. We didn't actually. We talked about it and it got excluded.
Oh, really? You sure?
Yes,
we're
absolutely.
We're going to have to look back on that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I promise you, we never spoke about bacon previously. But we're talking bacon today. We're talking fakin, we're talking bacon.
But even if that's the case, hold on a second, doesn't that mean that at least 2 million Britons won't be getting on the train? Or won't be enticed to get on the train?
Is an interesting point, and more to the point, I wonder how they came up with the figure of 44% based on one rasher of bacon. What was the control group? How long were they on one rasher of bacon a day before somebody decided that they were too lally? So keep it together, Simon. I told you that shit was good. So yes. I mean, is this a conspiracy by the rail companies, perhaps? If they know that there's one rasher of bacon a day and they keep giving customers bacon rolls, that the customers might conveniently forget how trashy the service on the rail for the rail companies really are,
and how expensive,
how expensive the fares are. There you go, conspiracy theorists.
Number 1,
eat your heart out. They could be deliberate. And there's a new study out this week, and I might add it's been. One has to be cautious of such studies as to who has funded them. And this one has been funded by vegan interests, fair to say, which is fair enough. But they have their study finds this study, the scientific, finds that plant-based diets can reduce carbon emissions by 61%. So again, I don't know how they come to the science of these things.
The other thing is, don't plants need carbon dioxide to live?
Well, yes, so that reduces the amount of carbon dioxide in the...
Isn't that bad for the plants?
No, because they give out oxygen, which is good for...
But if a plant needs carbon dioxide to survive, by reducing carbon emissions...
You're going to end up with trees that are asthmatics. Won't be able to breathe properly.
There's no one... Well, obviously we're not exactly talking about environmentalism yet, but isn't there not a case? Obviously there's other chemicals that are sort of emitted which are obviously bad for the environment, but carbon dioxide specifically, you know, all plant life require carbon dioxide in order to survive.
But I've got a feeling...
So if you extract it from the atmosphere, surely that hinders plant growth.
Yeah, but I mean, how much are we going to be pulling out? We're still breathing the bloody stuff out for the trees to breathe, the trees and plants to breathe it in. Yeah, but there's enough of us to keep them going.
But they don't survive from humans expelling.
Yeah, but there's
carbon
other...
dioxide.
Well, I'm not a scientist, I hasten to add.
Neither of us are. We're just making...
But it's
throwing out an idea.
You mean that we could end up with not enough?
Not enough water.
Although the crisp manufacturers have been complaining, there's an irony. There's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, folks. And apparently, these over recent months, because of supply chain issues and COVID and what have you, the soft drinks companies and crisp manufacturers, because they pump the bags with carbon dioxide.
Have you tried to get a bottle of Perrier? Very difficult.
Really?
Yeah.
A bottle of Evian? Oh, they don't do sparkling, do they?
No.
And do you know Evian spells naive backwards? Have you ever thought of that? Just drink tap water. They're trying to tell us something. Yeah, you've been paying all this money for this water and it's out of a tap in France.
Well, exactly.
Anyway, I digress, as usually I do. So, yes, new study finds plant-based diets can reduce carbon emissions by 61%. But then there's the other emissions. I thought part of the issue of eating... moving away, because cattle farming obviously is bad, because they maintain there's the issue with methane.
Yeah.
But surely,
huge amounts of methane.
But surely if we all end up on plant-based food, because I know what I'm like after I've had a vegetable curry. Do you know what I mean? Are we not going to affect the planet?
Where's this going?
Well, you know where it's going. Are we going to... Have they calculated in the fact that we'll be more windy to make up for the fact there's less cows on the planet? Because of all the vegetables and beans and pulses that we're consuming.
I don't think one of you comes even close to the amount of expulsion of one cow. So I think we're fine.
You should be in our bedroom after 10 o'clock at night.
No.
Let me tell you. Even in midwinter, you've got to have the windows open. Anyway. So are you? I mean, I suppose the first question I've got is, are you kind of akin to this, to becoming vegan? Is it something you reckon you could do? What do you make of it all?
No.
No. I like meat.
I can't say I'm a fan. I understand the reasonings as to why you'd like to become a vegan, because I understand that side of the coin, but for me personally, I don't know if I can give up meat altogether.
No.
I think by nature of our lifestyles, we're eating meat less regularly anyway.
Well,
I know I'm eating meat maybe once a week, not much more than that.
Well, there you go. Do you think that
I've reduced the amount of meat that I consume.
So do you think all of
half
this...
at least anyway? So I mean, inadvertently I'm doing my bit, but I think it's more for health and lifestyle choices as opposed to subscribing to a vegan sort of narrative.
Right, okay. So you're more,
but I get it.
You're more the Prince Charles of the vegan, the environmental through eating support.
I think it's important.
He's given up apparently eating meat and fish once a week. And he runs his car on surplus British wine, which if you've ever tasted any British wine, I should imagine there's a plenty surplus. Although I'm told it's improving.
Isn't that illegal?
Sorry?
Isn't that illegal?
Because
you can't run a diesel car, you can't run a diesel engine.
And it's an Aston Martin he's got. It's had it converted, no doubt.
To wine.
To wine. So he says. Surplus British wine. I don't think he's fussy. I mean, if you popped a bottle of Chianti in there, I'm not
How
so
much
sure.
money? Yeah, well, if you've got
Is it
that
like
kind
lead? Is it like leaded and unleaded?
if
Red
you've got
and
the
white?
kind of money that you can afford to pop a bottle of wine into
Your Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, what shall I try today? Or cheeky Chardonnay. It was, how's your car running? Well, yes, it's not bad on the Pinot Grigio.
That's a bit bonkers.
It is a bit, isn't it? Anyway, sorry, I digressed yet again. So so you have considered, you have actually reduced your meat intake. Do you think that's because of all the discussion in the media on environmental impact? Is it something you've chosen for your own personal health?
Yeah, complete
what is
personal choice. I don't listen to anything the media has to say. Let's be
Gotcha.
let's be very fair.
Yeah.
So veganism, as far as I understand it, is all about the welfare.
Let's hope people want to listen to what we have to say. Yeah, please keep watching. Carry on. Yeah.
So welfare.
Yes.
So the welfare of all animals. So the idea is that no human being should have dominion over an animal.
Okay.
So while we have a choice as to whether or not we consume meat or not, an animal has no choice, because essentially we place it into either an industrial farm or some sort of situation whereby they have no control over their own lives, or we consume animal products which also harms their environment. Or
and that's what stopped you from,
No,
or rather, you don't care. You're just eating it.
Less. I understand why someone would choose to be vegan.
Okay. Yeah,
I understand that you wouldn't want to cause harm to other animals. I understand that. I understand that we shouldn't have dominion over other beings without having sort of the authority to do so. Should we not have some level of understanding of these animals and sort of take their welfare and life into more consideration than we do, because we just see most of them as a product that serves an end. You know, the habitat of certain animals. You look at bees. You know, we essentially destroy their habitat for their honey and wax, and then we just force them to just like go and build it up again. And then when they build it up again, we go take it, destroy it, and we start all over again.
You can't really ask them though, can you?
No, you can't ask them. But does it mean that you should just destroy their home?
No.
For our benefit, right?
I totally agree.
And then you look at milk, and you look at cheese, and you look at
all the things that
all animal products.
Okay.
Or the fish in the sea, whatever it. You know, do we have a right to take?
Is it taken? We are by evolution, but I mean you've only got to look at the teeth. Or in my case, the lack of the teeth to know that we're classed as omnivores. Yeah. So you know, we eat both. So surely there's some common sense in some of it, but the common sense for environmental and animal welfare and all the things that go to make a more sensible world. were achieved by it not taking or being at the forefront of people's diet.
Yeah, but how far back do you want to go? So apparently, us as human beings, we developed at the pace that we did because we understood and we found a way to hunt animals. The protein that we started to consume, aided in increasing the brain matter, our brain matter.
Okay. So it was.
So I mean, essentially, so we became more advanced quicker. We evolved faster because we managed to hunt. We created fire, and the protein that we consumed increased our brain matter and increased our intelligence.
So where did the vegetables come into it?
Well, they were just flying around.
Okay, so
But
easier to catch.
Yeah, a carrot
There's
is easier to catch.
Yeah, exactly. A consideration there that we weren't very good at running after the animals. So
But protein was important.
Yeah, no.
Today we need protein to feed the brain.
Okay, so
it's a very
surely
important part of our diet.
So and some of that protein, a lot of that protein can't be. Although obviously there's protein in a lot of beans and other things,
but not in the same quantities. That's the
and
problem.
not the same type. So, isn't there an argument for saying that eating vegan food it would be
Makes your brain soft.
that supplements aren't sufficient enough to give us what is derived from a natural part of human diet?
Was that the other way around? So surely you would need to take supplements.
Yes, if you didn't eat meat.
If you didn't eat meat.
Yes,
so
exactly.
you could have a vegan.
That's exactly my point. Yeah, No, I mean.
But so in theory, right, you'd have your vegan diet, and for whatever lack of percentage of protein that you don't get in your diet through veganism, you'd make up for with supplements.
But supplements, they argue, are never as good as deriving it from the appropriate source. Like omega-3, you can take in a supplement for omega-3, but you will never derive what you need. That's the oily fatty acids.
And they say a lot of omega-3 that you find in capsule form is actually off.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, well, that's another
point. Thing. Because obviously they all have their own sort of expiry dates.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you'll have batches of omega-3 which are actually past expiry, which are actually, let's call it off, and it's still passed on to the consumer, which isn't great, but I mean, there you go.
Yes.
So I understand the welfare side, I don't accept the lifestyle side.
Yes, you see, for me, I get the welfare part, but I'm uncertain that it provides enough in the diet. I mean, my partner has a little bit of propensity to anemia, and there's
so iron is vital.
Exactly. Now you can get it from certain leafy vegetables and what have you, but you need to the amount you would need to consume to get what you'd get from a little bit of meat or
liver
having
or something.
Yeah, exactly, and having a bit of dairy. Would not be sufficient. So so do you think? I mean, we talk about plant-based diets and nutrition. Onto simpler stuff. I mean, whilst I can't and wouldn't choose to become vegan because I do like a bit of meat.
We want to live happy lives.
And whilst I, obviously with things we see in the news about different foods and their causes, for example, a lot of processed meat is bad for stomach cancer. There's this now talking about its relationship with dementia.
Yeah.
That'd be handy, wouldn't it? You forget where you put the bacon. I don't mind cooking the bacon. So
probably in the fridge.
Probably in the fridge. One would hope it's in the fridge. To reduce things like processed meat. So these days I virtually don't touch bacon, and I certainly don't eat processed meats. to be avoided. So my thinking has changed, but I wouldn't want to write eating meat, and certainly from the dairy aspects to it. I like a bit of cheese. I like a bit of strong cheddar, and I've tried sort of fake cheese, and it's it's just not the same. I've tried I tried fat-free cheese once, and that's like eating a pencil rubber. So there's some things I choose to. I mean, I eat less meat, but I eat more fish. But our diet is more vegetable based, more plant based than ever before. It's stilted probably to 80% of what we eat is plant based.
I think the point is where it's all sourced from.
Yeah.
I think that's the point. You're talking about processed food, for example.
That's
a real bit. That's a really big issue. We're talking about this, right? The marketing that you see for vegan processed food.
Yeah.
Related to a nugget, related to a burger, related to a sausage.
Well, this is the other thing I want to talk about: meat appropriation.
And then
gets my goat.
And then goat.
Yeah.
But
so Simonism.
So you have the issue that they're trying to sell a healthy product.
Yeah.
But they use binders, additives, excessive amounts of salt and sugars,
so
which
by perpetuity,
which are just as bad
yeah.
as any other processed food you can get, but yet it's labelled green, and there's nothing green about it whatsoever.
So the same way that other food products we've been hoodwinked into thinking that they're the healthy option, when in actual fact the makeup has got a lot more sugar in it when it's had the salt taken in it, or
it's
a lot
marketing,
more of something else.
It's marketing bump, that's all it is.
Yeah.
But then don't sell those products at all. Obviously these companies want to make money, which
is my point.
All fair and good. But if you are a vegan already, don't go down the route where you're purchasing these processed items, because surely you're not doing yourself any benefit. Look for organic produce. If you are using, like you said, like lactose-free cheese and all these kind of things, try and find the most ethically sourced products you can, so you can truly try and live.
But I think there's some things you just have to accept if you were becoming a vegan, that you just wouldn't have. I was talking about having a vegetable curry.
But it's about cost. It's not about the lifestyle. It then becomes about cost, because to live a truly vegan lifestyle, I'm assuming, is actually relatively expensive if you try and find all organic products. So sometimes, if it's a choice you make, but cost is an issue, you have to go down. It
doesn't necessarily have to be organic, does it?
But you have to go down a processed route because it's more economically viable for you.
Okay.
And I get it, but it's still not healthy. So don't label it as healthy.
Yes, this is my point. So if you want to eat vegan food, cook yourself a vegetable curry, or cook yourself food that doesn't contain. You do all your vegetables and do all the things. I mean, there's so much choice, pastas and whatever. So you can do all of this stuff without going near meat, but without having to, it be so sort of under this marketing of being vegan. Because, as I said, good example. Matt and I went round to some friends a week or two ago, and they're vegans. And so we sat down for a spot of lunch, and there was things like guacamole and hummus and all this other stuff. Fantastic. And I don't even consider it, because it's stuff I eat.
Fruit and vegetables, right?
I don't, I don't think of it beyond those terms, because I've always eaten that kind of food with all vegetables and what have you. But then out popped the vegan sausages. And I'd eaten a couple before actually suddenly remembering that they were vegan, although I should have known from the flavour. They were a bit... well, for me, it lacked seasoning.
What is it? Processed
But it
mushroom?
was some kind of, I don't know what it was, but they tasted okay. And because I was sitting there munching on hummus and olives and what have you, when it came to eating these little sausagey things, I'd quite forgotten that they weren't sausage, or weren't meat sausage.
They sort of came in under the radar.
They slipped under the net. But I have to say, they were okay. But as soon as then I focused my head on them being a sausage that's not a sausage, I yearned for a real sausage. So I guess my point is, if they want us to all become plant-based...
Also, don't call it a sausage.
Don't call... Exactly. Chicken-free, chicken nuggets is being advertised.
You can wrap your head around it a lot better if it doesn't hold those connotations that we all know.
Yes, exactly.
Please don't call it a sausage because we think of something else.
Yes.
And then when we're forced to try the thing, it's a sad disappointment.
I remember vegetarian food in the 1980s.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, I'm off in the past. But you had these things that were like
corn existed back then.
Of course it did. Yes.
Linda McCartney's whatever it was.
Linda McCartney's sausages.
Right.
Okay. And vegetable. They were drumsticks. It looked like chicken drumsticks, but they weren't drumsticks. So why make them in a drumstick shape?
It's like turkey drummers.
Yeah.
So what was that food like? Because I don't remember.
Oh, I wouldn't touch it with a fucking barge pole.
Well, okay.
I mean, could do me a favour. It didn't. I think I probably tried corn mince once doing a bolognese, and it's just.
It's like 25 years too early, almost.
Probably. And it probably stilted things for the next, for the next quarter of a century, food-wise for me. But my point is, if I can remember my fucking point. Is that don't call.
You stopped cleaning your glasses.
Well, they were pretty awful. Here we go.
They're perfect.
There we go. I can see you all again. Okay. My point is, it's just like, why do they insist on calling things like chicken-free chicken nuggets?
Because it's familiar. On television. Obviously, it's familiar. You might attempt to give it a go.
Yeah, but then if you give it a go and you sit there, and what are you going to do? Oh, these don't taste like chicken. And you fuck them off, and you don't have them again.
Yeah, but for every 10 that might dismiss it, one might be okay. I'll give it a shot. But wouldn't it be better for that one person? It's worth.
Wouldn't it be better to label them as something completely
honesty in marketing that also doesn't exist.
I mean, it's not helping the cause, is it? I don't think.
I think we'll get to a point where meat and fish anyway will just become more and more expensive. That people will ultimately.
Here we go.
Sorry.
This is when you know you're doing it live, and hopefully in one take. Is it your mother?
No. It's not my mother.
Don't worry, it's not his mother.
I haven't got a clue either. Sorry, everybody.
God, my mind will start going in a minute. And there'll be some fool wanting to do a survey. Usually is. Anyway, I mean, I was curious. Some months ago, I saw an advert, well-known high street chain, health food chain.
Let me put my phone on silent.
And the advert was for vegan eggs. And I saw this advert, so I thought, well, I can't resist it. So we were down in Hackney. And we thought we'd go and take a look, and sure enough, they've got them in stock. Vegan eggs, and they are about, I think they were about £8 or £5 for half a dozen.
For 6?
Yes. Right, and they come in something that looks like an egg box. And worse still, they've got a picture of a little chicken, a hen on the front. It's just like, but why?
Does it come in a shell?
I think it does, yeah.
Do you mean you think it does? You bought them?
No, I wouldn't buy them.
Oh, right, you were just in the shop?
No, I just, why in a shell? You don't eat the shell. Why wouldn't it just come in a bottle? or
because
whatever
our eggs,
it is.
because our eggs don't come in a bottle. You'd be less inclined to eat eggs if it came out of a bottle, but if it came in a shell in its more natural form, you'd be more sort of willing to give it a
as it's
shot.
an animal product, I expect an egg to look like an egg. But if it's a vegan product, I don't expect it to come out looking like a fucking egg.
I guess.
It doesn't make sense. Just stick to calling it what it is.
You clearly have a hang-up.
I do have a hang-up. I've seen there's another advert on the television at the moment for the vegetarian butcher. I mean,
I've seen
really?
that.
Really? I'll go in and can you slice me a nice 1-inch slice of cauliflower, please?
But this is a cool new thing. They're actually going to start setting up vegan butchers like on high streets now.
This is just an excuse. You can't chop your own veg anymore.
Well, I don't know what you'll find in a vegan butcher, but this is this will be the latest iteration.
Yeah, things like cauliflower steaks.
Yeah, yummy.
It's just cook your cauliflower with something else. You don't have to call it a steak. I mean, or vegan eggs and put a chicken on the box. It just doesn't kind of make sense to me that if you want people to forget that they're eating meat and be happy with what they're eating, don't keep putting pictures of animals on it and making it look like its animal counterpart. It doesn't make sense.
I agree.
So, anyway, that's it. It's a hang-up I've got. I don't make any bones about it. It just annoys me every time I see them, saying... Because then you find it confusing.
Well, not for you, because you don't like it anyway, so it's
buy
not an
broad
issue,
beans.
is it?
I want them to be broad beans. I don't want them to be sort of pretending to be chicken nuggets. I wanted to touch back as well on the fact that some of the things that are their interest. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-vegan at all. I'm pro-eating healthy for myself, which actually it is.
Yeah.
Eating the vast majority of the diet being in vegetable matter and non-animal protein.
But you do like yogurt.
I like my Skyr fat-free yogurt,
Not very vegan,
Icelandic
is it?
style. No, but it is fat-free.
But it's not
And it has got honey drizzled on top of it.
That's even worse.
Ouch. Better keep an eye on my mail, make sure I don't get any bombs in the post. Look, this is why I couldn't become a vegan, because there's certain things I just know I'd find difficult in.
It's very limiting. It's very difficult. I agree with that.
I mean, I said to you, we visited this couple the other week, and I thought the last time we saw them was when Daniel came over here and bought us some vegan scones, and they were really very, very nice. And I thought to myself, maybe I should make them something, because I bake and what have you. I thought about baking a cake, and I just could not come up with the right alternative. I won't use aquafaba, this thing that I think they sit chickpeas in, because there's supposed to be some. It's not supposed.
It's like egg white substitute.
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be good for you. This aquafaba.
I don't know. But I know you can whip it to a soft peak, though, can't you?
Yeah.
So you can almost make it look. I don't know whether you can make sort of vegan meringue out of it or not, but I think it has lots and lots of uses.
There's other things you can whip into soft peaks, but it's a family show, so we won't talk about that. No, but I think the thing is...
Don't get that. You'll have to tell me after the show.
I'll tell you later.
Oh,
okay. Some of the food that vegans eat, and I get it, but have even a bigger environmental impact. So it's not... Obviously, you accept the argument of animal welfare, but if you're, for example, almonds, they're obviously in replacing milk, dairy milk.
Yeah.
there's a fad for things like almond milk. Now, I don't know how much almond it actually has in it, and of course, I wasn't aware that almonds actually had. Well, you can milk an almond.
You can if you squeeze it hard enough.
You can if you squeeze it hard enough. Yes. Dear. And the fact that
That's also
almonds
supposed to be very
are
good for you, right?
Almonds are great for you, but when you're using them in such high quantities for things like almond milk and all these other substitutes and things, I mean, you're talking about an environmental issue that in itself, because of the amount of water it takes. Think to grow one almond, one solitary nut, it takes 1.1 gallons of water. So for a pound of almonds, that's 1,900 gallons.
They're saying that about avocados now. That the costs to produce an avocado and the environmental impact it has to grow the amount of avocados that are now being sold all over the world because
you're flying them around all over
because they've become so popular.
Yeah.
You know, you're even now getting a lot of restaurants that are now looking to substitute avocados because of the environmental impact. So now
substitute them with a bit of lamb. Sorry.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is an issue going towards this vegan lifestyle.
Exactly.
That
has impacts of its own.
That we haven't quite calculated yet.
Exactly. And they're kind of being ignored. And when people bang on about, but
there's an offset. We were talking about this as well before, right? That what was it? I think like 2/3 of all agricultural land is used for the production of animal feed.
Yeah.
So if you reduce, the amount of animal products that we eat, we reduce the amount of land that's used for solely animal feed
and
which can be repurposed for fruit and vegetables, or to be left as woodland or whatever it might be. To sort of,
Mine fruit and vegetables would be a bit awkward because here we've got no blended flaming wild pig.
Well, no, but you could sort of re-wood an area or something like that, bring it back to its more natural habitat, and it's a huge amount of land.
Yeah.
How much deforestation takes place for cattle grazing, for example.
Okay.
If you can remove some of that,
what if you
improve the environment for everybody.
What if you were to not have these fast, millions and millions of fast food places there are everywhere?
KFC are opening 150 new outlets this year, apparently, because of the demand. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a worry.
If we were to actually see how chickens were slaughtered, and we actually went to these abattoirs and saw these things for ourselves, would we be more willing to maybe not only reduce the amount of meat that we eat, but maybe think about not eating meat or not eating chicken that's factory farmed altogether because the process is so horrific.
Yeah,
right?
Don't get me wrong. I'm not against.
But because we're 2 steps away, and we just see the chicken in the box in the supermarket, we're enough steps away from the process that we don't feel the let's say the personal attachment.
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, for example, I would be willing to slaughter my own chicken if I had to. I would do it, and I would make sure I ate every last piece of that animal. But then, I would be prepared to do that. I'm pretty sure that many people might not be prepared to take that step in slaughtering an animal for their own food. But then, surely at some point, should we not all learn how to?
I've done it with a fish. Caught a fish, gutted it, prepped it, cooked it.
But there's a difference between doing that and buying it off the shelf. Or at least for me, there is.
I think for me, other than the sort of messy end of it, not really. I can kind of
There's not more appreciation for the fact that you sort of
yes,
you caught it,
but
killed it, prepared it.
Yeah, and that, I think it's important. You know, I'm all for animal welfare, animal rights. You know, but we give them the right to vote. Be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah. Make their mind up whether they want to go to the slaughterhouse or not. No, I'm in all for totally.
I think that would be a resounding no for most animals, don't you reckon?
Yeah, it's a bit nah. Yeah, no, I'm all for my animal welfare, and I think I'd be an awful lot happier that from, you know, because I do. You find yourself conscious of it when you're looking at food, where it's come from.
Or we were saying, would you eat an animal that's come to the end of its life?
Well, if it died of natural cause, so what if it died of a heart attack? The thing is, obviously, at that age, the meat's a bit tough.
Is that not a small price to pay?
Well, I suppose if you do it,
I
suppose if you casserole it.
Assuming that we take beef usually at 16 weeks.
Okay.
That's more or less the average. You know, it's at the peak of its.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
What didn't you get?
Sorry?
What? Hold on. How did that happen? Okay, that's that.
Very interesting. There you go. See, this is this is live TV or for your live recording.
That might have to be a new subject.
Why is it completely cut us off naturally, or was that something? Oh, you mean yeah.
Technology. No, we're being spied on.
Technology. Oh,
Apparently.
there's one. Yes, I know. Well, that is a subject for another day. Vault 7, I believe the technology was termed by the CIA. I might find myself in Belmarsh like Assange if I'm not careful.
Come on, let's finish this topic.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm all for animal welfare, and I think I'd be happy to carry on eating meat and dairy and what have you if I could be sure it was all very free range, all very
where it's sourced, whether it's done.
Yes,
ethically,
I think that's massively important, even if we're paying more. You know, and
that's
really,
it. I would happily pay more to know that the welfare of the animal was better cared for than if it was in a factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Farm.
And the growth,
100%.
And the growth of factory farming.
And in fact, I'll avoid any kind of meat if I don't know that it's organic and is being sourced ethically.
Yeah,
as much as possible, as far as I can tell.
You kind of want to know how it got from you know, cradle to a bit of trans wrap and a polystyrene tray in your supermarket. You kind of want to know what's happened in between. And I don't mind paying extra for that, because the tendency is then you eat less. But, you know, surely we're not going to achieve that. Why you've got high streets full of fried chicken places and McDonald's and KFCs and what have you. Surely the vast majority of factory farming is going in that direction.
That's not the point. You also have to consider, you know, people and families that are on a tight budget.
Yeah.
And if that is their best choice to feed the family, who are we to say otherwise?
Well,
we can't force, you know, even on a moral standpoint, we can't tell a family, you know, that are on a limited budget not to eat, you know, cheaper meat that might be, you know, sourced from a battery hen or whatever.
There's a subject, you know, for a whole other day of actually.
Yeah, but that's important. We have no right
of educating people.
We can't impose our morality.
No.
On other people that need to feed their families on a limited budget.
But then, do you not think that some real hardline, really serious, deadly serious vegans are judging us meat eaters?
Yeah, of course.
In a way that is less than maybe tolerant. We have to. We can't pass judgment. We've got to educate to a more common sense diet. Surely.
And that's fine. There's extremes. There's extremes on both sides, right? It's just a question of Where do we find the middle ground?
I suppose before I finish, the only other thing I would think about is things like animal hides and what have you. Leather replacement. I was reading recently about leather that's or faux leathers made from cactuses.
Don't cactuses have rights?
It's a prickly subject. So they have rights. You can milk a cactus. They have milk for sap, don't they? Sort of a milky substance.
You want to be very careful consuming cactus.
Oh?
You want to be very careful consuming cactus. Has extreme psychedelic properties, some of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
You never heard of mescaline?
Well, I thought mescaline was the worm.
Worm? No.
The worm, the mescal worm. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that was the worm that they used to put in the tequila, in traditional proper Mexican tequila. And I thought it was called a mezcal. And that's what gave off that mescaline was from the worm, not necessarily the cactus.
We'll have to do a fact check.
I'll have
come
to
back to
fact check
come
time.
back to
Fact check. I think cactus leather is made out of the mature leaves of the prickly cactus, and they extract some proteins and fibres from it to make this kind of faux leather. Which I suppose, as a vegan alternative, has got to be better than walking around in plastic shoes.
Yeah, of course.
Because obviously, again, something that's organic rather than non-organic.
Man-made, yeah.
And man-made. So, without a doubt, the demand for vegan alternatives to meat is growing by the day with the science and the technology kind of following in tandem. Certainly, there's many health benefits. I think we agree on that.
There's also lab-grown meat.
Yes.
That's coming soon to a plate near you. You can grow a piece of beef from a petri dish. So maybe that will sort of change people's opinions on the consumption of meat.
Well,
Let's not talk about the genetic side effects potentially of eating, human-reared meats.
Well, there's plenty of negative side effects eating animals, because where the factory farms, they've pumped them full of antibiotics. That's caused problems itself. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's certainly lots of health benefits into vastly reducing our meat and dairy consumption, that's for sure. And I'm sure over time, more of us will be tempted into changing established habits, but actually giving up all meat and dairy entirely, not convinced really. So it is in the interest of health becoming, perhaps completely plant-based is not the best plan, but somewhere in the middle. Perhaps there should be more programs on TV where the food is purely vegan, because we haven't got a sort of vegan culinary show.
Yeah, because
Master Veg.
Not very many people watch TV anymore.
No, well that's true. It's very true. Well, I suppose that draws us to the end here really, and I notice you found us a bit of a quote for the day, which I rather like, from Eleanor Roosevelt. If life were predictable, it would cease to be life and would be without flavour. So, predictable life is like tofu. Fucking tasteless.
Goodbye, everybody.